cerebral atrophy, which is quite likely to have been associated with a degree of dementia in her old age. So we've come to a conclusion about this case, but why in general do we die? Well, one way of looking at it is this. The pedestal that we're standing on is gradually getting narrower and narrower and narrower, so that as we age, a smaller and smaller push can knock us right off it.
And now it's time to have questions from the audience. Please, anybody wants to ask us?
During this time, we have seen and searched reasons for the persons of death, physical reasons, let's say. Yeah? My question is now, when we are talking about persons losing their will of life, let's say, is there a type of proof what you can see between the mindset and the physical body, that thing?
Well, yes, it's often said sometimes that people lose the will to live, isn't it? And I think it is common experience sometimes that when somebody gets into that mind state, they can be more likely to die, especially if they're elderly, than they would otherwise be. And I think it's difficult to be specific about that, but I think the way to understand it generally is that when we're unwell, we normally do the best we can to look after ourselves. We eat and we drink, and our body makes hormones and makes protective responses. And if somebody loses the will to live, that often goes with not really wanting to eat and drink, and possibly not being in the same state of activity, internal activity, to fight disease that another person would be. And when you're already in a fragile state, as an older person is, that then often makes you more likely to die of a disease than you would if you were a fighter.
Please go ahead.
I'd like to say that I found this very helpful because a couple of months ago I watched my mother change from a very active 87-year-old to a very dead 87-year-old in about 2 weeks. I think that was, everything was failing.
Next session.
This was a fascinating detective story that you've unravelled for us. The lady that you've dissected today is obviously a woman. Is it a myth or is it reality that we live longer than men, and why?
In fact, in the average, women live 5 years longer. There are several theories about it. One is that grandmas do more for their offspring than grandpas, and women care more for their children, and this actually makes them more sturdy against the influence of disease, of nature. They have to bear pregnancy. The pregnancy needs much more energy and is much more a burden for life. And for that reason, women are bigger survivors. More boys are always born, about 10% more or so, but more women survive. Therefore, our body donors are 5 years older when they are female.
And it is true that there's a slight increase in lifespan in women compared to men, but I think it's also a difficult question to answer because the risk factors for men and women, until really very recently, have been quite different. There have been differences in behaviour, for example, in smoking and in drinking. There have been differences in work, for example, to do with the amount of manual work. So it's actually quite a difficult question to disentangle, and maybe when the sexes are really equal in due course and we all do exactly the same thing, then we'll actually know the true answer to that question.
Yeah, okay, more questions. Please, go ahead.
What happens now with the bodies?
Those bodies were donated especially for these purposes. So I want to do the maximum use for them. So what we do now, we will dissect further, we will placenate them, especially the bodies which we have bisected, we will cut in 6 slices, we will impregnate them with resin, and a number of those organs and slices we will find in future exhibitions. Now, after we have talked and discussed and seen so much about old age, let's do a life expectancy test. And I want that everybody of you to stand up. Please stand up now. And now I will give you a number of questions. Who will stand up at the end, he will be a real survivor and reach probably an age of 100. First question goes to attitude. Are you optimistic? Do you generally approach life with good humor? Are you able to let go things that are too stressful? If your answer is no, then please sit down. I'm surprised. Now, do you do things that are challenging to your brain regularly? If your answer is no, please sit down. Nutrition. Do you have a diet that keeps you lean? If your answer is no, then sit down. Next question. Smoking. Do you smoke? If your answer is yes, please sit down. All smokers, sit down. Exercise. Do you get at least 30 minutes of exercise a day, 3 days a week at least? If your answer is no, you have to sit down. Genes. Do you have at least some family members who lived into their 90s or later? It could be your father, your grandfather. If no, sit down. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 survivors. So this means that body donors, we invited them here, are very health-oriented people. So I congratulate everybody of you for your very long life you will achieve. Thank you so much. Great.
There's more about the science of autopsy and the chance to test your skills on 2 mystery deaths at channel4.com/science. Next up, let's see if George and Preston are still suffering.